Good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. My name is Apollo Sarah, and welcome to Twitter Jabs 2. And we are continuing the conversation of the state of the economy, and we read some tweets and gave you all the mixed reactions on social media. Now I'm joined by two guests and friends to the show, Dr. Rogers Barigayomwe, social analyst, and Mr. Jonah Kiveru, and he's an economist. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Papa.
Thank you.
Now, let's just get right into it. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Kiveru. As a researcher and as an economist, what is the state of Uganda's economy? Just help us break it down, because some people may not understand that. This month, the fuel prices increased by almost 1,500 shillings. We are now at 6,000 and a little over 6,500, even in some petrol stations. What does that mean?
Thank you, Sarah. First, Jonah Kiveru is my name from Gateway Research Center.
All right.
I'm a researcher and basically financial analyst.
Yes.
When I look at Uganda's economy, one thing I want to tell Ugandans is I'm wondering how the president recently stood out and declared Uganda a middle income status.
Yes.
That we had reached it. Probably it was a naked lie. Yesterday I saw when Rotarians were trying to solicit funds, mobilize funds to fight jiggers somewhere in Ugiri.
Yes.
And that is the middle income status the president is talking about. Today, by yesterday, the dollar was at 3,750.
Yes.
That means Uganda's currency is depreciating.
Yes.
Almost day by day. You find that statistics from the Uganda National Household Survey
Yes.
show that about 56% of Ugandans live in multidimensional poverty. When I say multidimensional poverty, it means it is beyond even monetary poverty. The health is poor. They can't afford food or good food. They can't afford good clothing.
Yes.
They can't afford good accommodation and the like. And before COVID-19, about 21.4% of Ugandans were living in poverty.
Yes.
When I tell you this, I remember one of my articles I wrote about 1 year back.
Yes.
It says, unrealistic government statistics mislead planning. Implying that we have a lot of statistics on the ground, but the challenge is, how realistic is this? Is it to impress a donor?
Yes.
Is it to impress international community? What is the aim? In the end, you find that what is on the ground and what is spoken by the government do not tally.
Yes.
So it is misleading. Uganda's economy right now is limping. It's in a slump, I can say.
Harsh
In
words.
summary. And there are no signs that it is going to improve in the near future. There are no signs. If you buy petrol at just 6,250 and above now, this morning, it changes between 5,990
Yes.
to 6,250 plus. How do you tell me people are going to survive? How about the person in the village, where I find that 55% of Ugandans in rural areas live in multidimensional poverty? I use multidimensional because I don't want to focus on monetary poverty.
Yes.
Largely, there we are. And about 23% in urban areas. That is the official statistics we have.
Yes.
And when you look at Vision 2040, they say, government says, by 2040 or within 30 years, by then the plan was made, I think, in 2007. And they say, we want Uganda to be transformed from a peasant to a modern self-sustaining economy.
Yes.
Until now, we are forcing ourselves to declare ourselves that, now it's like someone has refused to marry you. Now you are forcefully saying, I'm your wife by force. So Uganda has not yet reached there, but we are forcing ourselves to reach there. In finance, you may force a balance sheet to balance.
But it is not balancing.
not-
That's
not
not how it
acceptable.
works.
So we are forcing the boat, we are forcing the balance sheet to balance.
Yes.
Which
Well,
is
the
not-
World Bank went on to maintain that Uganda's per capita gross national income stood at $840 per annum, and that is according to its data from the period that ended of 2020 to 2021. However, the president still insists, and he refused, and he said he doesn't know where they are getting their information from, because he went on to say that Uganda's economy is growing, and he went on to say that he even had arguments with people over these statistics from the World Bank, and he goes on to say that the data he has says that our country is now at a GDP, that is a gross domestic product, per capita of $1,046. Now, Dr. Rogers, I would like to hear your inputs. What is the highlight, the biggest highlight of Uganda's economy today?
Yeah, and we've had this conversation with my old father. I told you, Apollo, that
Yes.
my father is a president's classmate from Ontari School.
Yes.
He is getting 80 in about 3 months. So when anyone is growing, sometimes they want to put up an impression of their achievement. But I sat with him, I said, Dad, be realistic at this time. There is no causing sophisticated or what we call an artificial economy. Tell me all the dates you have, what you failed to achieve. At this time, you cannot do much.
Yes.
And this is what I think the conversation has come from a family to a nation.
Yes.
One, people have been in power for 40 years. They are old. There is not much they can do for us anymore. And now we should have a conversation. Why? You're talking about President Museveni. Yes, as an old man who is living, he wants to struggle to show that this is what I've done. We want to tell him that thank you for the stability, thank you for what you've done, but however, now face it that there are very many failures. The truth is that we are not middle income. All that is an artificial economy being created for political reasons.
Yes.
The truth is, for example, I'll tell you first with my prediction that next month, you're talking about this month, next month the fuel price is going to reach 8,000 because Kenyan issues have tapped in and we have not enough reserves.
Yes.
And the other thing is, for example, I'll tell you that for the first time, government he has even let NUP, I saw it on news last night, go and distribute food. Before, government never used to do that, but they've acknowledged that actually government has no resources even to feed the Karamajongs.
Yes.
By the time they let even NUP start feeding, they've acknowledged. By the time they start letting the Rotarians do the responsibility
Of the government.
of the government, treating jiggers, people are dying of famine. This is the artificial economy. There is an artificial economy. Let me explain it to you. Good enough, my friend here is here.
Yes.
The truth is, they are people. Like, for example, all banks posted profits.
Yes.
Some actually, in COVID, when we were suffering, the banks posted more profits than never before out of what you call restructuring loans. Yeah? But when you're restructuring, you are just postponing a problem.
Yes.
When let's say many times, and I personally was one of the people who restructured,
Yes.
many of us restructure. But what happens is, if you go to a money lender who has been lending you, and instead he says, no, let me give you even more money, or let me increase your debt, it does not take away the debt.
The debt, the initial one, yes.
So there are elements in the economy which are doing well, and those are the mafia elements. And now banks have entered that kind of economy where they are a machinery of government to punish the public because they are getting that money from us. If us, they are getting the money, we who are getting the loans are becoming poorer, how come they are posting those profits? They are getting mortgages, but remember, these mortgages are going to be stuck with them. This thing ever happened in between 1980 and 86. The people who are in power sold all their properties,
Yes.
in Kololo at half the price. So it is likely this artificial, and you know, this artificial economy, how it's going to end in, of course, most likely it will end in a coup d'etat or even in a worse situation, whereby whatever you see, these figures, even the prices of mortgages are going to be sliced by, because who are owning these mortgages? These are army officers, these are politicians like MPs. I'll tell you, all MPs are broke. However much they increase their salary by, let's say, 40 million and give themselves handouts, back the people they are leading are suffering. And the same people will demand from them. So all of us are operating an artificial economy, pretending that the figures are well, yet we know the real situation on ground, that we are all suffering. The only few people, like I've named the bank, then these mafia investors who are getting tax holidays, and imagine someone is getting a tax holiday. An example comes out, Rocco.
Yes.
Rocco, which seems to be on many construction sites, even including parliament, and even posted a profit,
yes,
but applied to government for a bailout.
Yes.
So if Rocco, the leading construction company, and you know construction is the biggest thing in this season, is saying it wants a bailout, that means everyone in the economy is broke. Everyone wants a bailout. If State House keeps asking for now more than 3 supplementary budgets, even the president is broke. So if the president can be broke, now what of the ordinary citizen?
Yes.
Everyone, we are just operating an artificial economy, but the political reality, because in political science it's operating by what they call neo-patrimonialism. All handouts come from the president. Yes. All bailouts come from the president. That's why you see the supplementary budget. But by Rocco's example, all of us are broke. All companies are broke. Banks are posting artificial, fake profits, which in future, in 2 years, you are going to see even some of them are going to collapse.
Oh my God. So, Mr. Kiveru, your thoughts. How do we fix this? Is there a way that we can fix this? Because the state Minister of State for Energy said that there's nothing government can do anything about the skyrocketing fuel prices. That, of course, is causing a trickle-down effect to also increasing commodity prices. It's also increasing real estate prices, accommodation, and now everybody is striking and, asking for salary increments. Is there something that we can do to mitigate this situation? Or at least pause it and not allow it to escalate?
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Right now, Uganda, according to URA, their plan is to finance Uganda's budget by 100%. That's the target. As we talk now, URA by June, half of the financial year, by the end of the financial year, yes, by June, URA had collected the largest amount of revenue than compared to ever before. Yes. However, with the deficit. Now, you find that in the economy where prices are very high, where people are suffering, a minister comes out frankly and speaks out without shame and says, we don't know what to do. That means in a developed country, this person would be fit to resign. Because if you say, I don't have a solution, it's like telling your husband, now I don't have a solution to our problems. In the real life situation, you would say, go back to your home, and then find a solution. Likewise, in Uganda's context, you find that prices are high, and the government is not coming out even to say, let's reduce taxes in this season to solve this challenge that we are going through right now.
The president says we cannot do that.
Government is not negotiating with suppliers of fuel. You wonder how someone sells a kilogram of maize flour right now at more than 3,500, at 3,800, more than $1. Maize that we grow here locally in Uganda. Soap today is at, White Star is at 6,500 to 7,000 plus. If you buy in large quantities, it's somewhere around 6,500. And remember, Before this, the price was even below 3,500. That means prices have more than doubled. There are statistics from government show that commodity prices have skyrocketed. Inflation is at 13.1% for such. But when you go right on ground, that is not the case. It takes you back to the unrealistic government statistics I was telling you.
Yes.
One, government should check this by reducing on the taxes. Two, let the government cut its expenditure. There is too much expenditure. You find a minister, if you look at their classified expenditure, today they will tell you we are in Congo, we are fighting a war in Congo. Does the war in Congo have a direct impact on Uganda's economy right now? Should you look at your neighbors' challenges before you solve your own challenges? Should you go and construct roads in a foreign country before you construct roads in your own country? People are suffering here. Cut your taxes. Cut your government expenditure. Today you find someone who is corrupt, is jailed. 1 month later, the person is out, and they say this person has been acquitted. There is no case now. There is no evidence. And that is the economy in which we are. The economy is crippled. People are suffering. Taxes are very high. And the taxman continues to press his button. He's accelerating. New taxes come in every financial year. Every financial year. One thing the government is not doing is, when you do, maybe my brother, Dr. Rogers, will tell you about this. I'm not a politician.
Yes.
But we say that to run a successful government, there should be inclusive governance. There should be inclusive decision making. There should be inclusive political, social management. In other words, government should include citizens in its economic decision making.
Yes.
But now you find that why government is declaring Uganda a middle income status. I don't know what kind of research they did. Why government comes out with policies that cannot bail out the economy from the challenges it is going through. The reason is government does not go on ground. I'm not sure if this, I don't want to call him an old man, though he is in his late 70s. I don't know if he's aware of how you and I and the other ordinary citizen are suffering. How are we living on ground? Because I drive an armored car. I drive on tarmac. How do I know? Because remember, the largest population of Uganda is rural. It's rural. And funny enough, you find that I was reading the Wubos report, 2016-17. You find that about 36.4% of Ugandans just try to study somewhere in primary school.
Yes.
Somewhere primary school. About 15.4 around there manage to complete secondary education. And a few are in post-secondary plus. And you come out and say, oh, Uganda is middle income status. Uganda is, by the way, Uganda, 5 years back, Uganda is worse off. 5 years back or 10 years back.
Yes.
Today, if you compare Uganda 10 years back and Uganda now, it shows that if we continue at this speed, we will completely collapse. And, like it or not, this politician will tell you, expect demonstrations. While you say Ugandans, you know, they don't want to come out, they don't want to do any kind of violence, they don't want. One time will come out when there's no solution. Someone tells you in Karamoja, people are dying in numbers.
Yes.
And what we are doing now to give them food is not sustainable. Do we have the capacity to grow food that grows at a faster rate?
Yes. Maybe
in 3 weeks. Maybe, have you heard in China where they told you that they can grow cabbage in hours? or in weeks. Here, what is our solution? What's the Ministry of Health doing? What about the Food and Agriculture Organization?
Yes.
But you find that the amount of money that goes to Karamoja, funny enough, look here. You'll see that just like it was in COVID, officials in the office of the Prime Minister, about 5+ top officials,
yes,
who were managing the COVID, who were part of the COVID-19 task force, they were found guilty before, and later on, they were acquitted. The same case may happen in Karamoja.
Yes.
In a crisis, our friends, the politicians who are in the government,
yes,
they see business. And by the way, I don't want to mention this, that COVID-19 seemed a business entity, a business route for Uganda. And Uganda and East Africa in general, they have similar characteristics. The rate of corruption in Uganda is just slightly less than that in Kenya. And Tanzania, I think, is better than us. I will not mention Rwanda, because Rwanda, they will tell you they are managing corruption, but the level of inequality is very high. So you manage corruption, but again, people are not enjoying their country.
Yes.
So here where we are, government should think about reducing taxes, especially right now, on essential items, essential commodities, foodstuffs. Why should I buy maize that is grown in Uganda at a price more than $1,
yes,
at 3,800, which is got from the garden? Should we say still it is about fuel?
Yes.
Probably there are certain internal challenges. There is some internal politics that is causing Uganda to suffer up to this extent. That's where we are. Taxes should be cut. Subsidies should work on local producers.
Yes.
Because you find that maybe there is a maize mill behind your home, but the price tomorrow. I think one of the challenges we have in Uganda is creating artificial scarcity, hoarding, so that they can use this chance, this opportunity, where everyone is crying,
yes,
to maintain prices as high as possible, even when they can reduce them.
Yes.
That's the country where we are.
All right.
We are in a country where a minister makes the citizens become completely desperate. URA tries to make barazas. You know barazas?
What are barazas? Explain.
They try to make forums.
Right.
They go to the community, try to seek information from them. That is URA. At the ministerial level, this is still lacking. At the local government level, it is worse.
Yes.
Today, you find that they are creating constituencies where a small country like Uganda has more than 500 MPs. For what? They are creating new constituencies every day. They are creating new districts. Districts could be okay because you may think they are bringing services closer to the ordinary citizen, yes, within their localities.
Yes.
But what about constituencies? What is the role of this member of parliament?
Why are you here?
What are they doing?
Yes.
What are they doing? What policies are they bringing? I see parliament as a liability to Uganda. It's a liability to Uganda. The parliamentarians are liabilities to the citizens because what they earn today, they will say the economy is limping, no problem. Increase our salaries.
Yes. But let's talk about, what about the solutions that government is trying to put in place to, try and curb some of these economic situations that we have?
Like
for instance, the fuel situation. They say that they're negotiating with South African oil companies to bring cheaper fuel to Uganda. And then there's also the parish development model. Do you think these are all sustainable? Do you think it will actually work?
Okay. Now, when you mention parish development model,
yes,
you are worsening the situation. I don't want even to hear this story of parish development model. Why? First, we had those things they said, youth loan scheme, Emioga, Operation Wealth Creation. We have Bonabagagawale.
Yes.
We have Entandikwa scheme.
Yes.
seed fund, seed capital funding, something like that. Now, all those modifications, nothing has happened.
Yes.
They have brought all of them, except to hear scandals that this money was embezzled. This money was embezzled. So, when you mention the parish development model, you are tickling me.
What about
The
you,
parish
Dr. Rogers?
The parish development model. The parish development model. I think already right now, it's not yielding completely. Right now, I think it is dying even before its first anniversary.
Don't you think that's a little pessimistic? What about you, Dr. Rogers?
These are handouts. Practically, he is an economist. Handouts cannot sustain. We are talking about short term, and the problem is we've left the politician take the gap of the technocrats, like he's a researcher.
Yes.
If you allow the researcher bring the real data from the ground and you acknowledge that his data is authentic, you will get results. But what they want, for example, we are now even moving towards the election, about 3 years now towards.
Yes.
What they want is to take these handouts to the peasants. And the peasants will look and, of course, these people, they take the parish development model. Now, for example, they are taking it for development of the parish. But you give me a peasant in, which is your village?
I come from Amuria.
And in Amuria, in the smallest village, you give me 2 million to, is it grow some vegetables?
Yes.
Yeah? Or some cotton. Definitely, if I have a child going to university, I'll instead channel that because that's the biggest need.
Yes.
And unfortunately, you will call me on another program to tell you about the state of education. Education, I'm from the education, I'm an associate professor. I'm from the education sector. We are having the worst kind of education ever since independence. So even the quality of life via looking at education itself is the worst since independence.
Yes.
What my brother was talking about, that they have some 15% going to, what is in primary now? Nothing. You reach primary 6 and someone cannot write their name or an English sentence. So even the education system itself has collapsed. But talk about those models, those handouts. Now we have to tell our father, the father of the nation, the president right now, who is aging, that we need to plan, because for him, he's moving towards 80. He
Yes.
has no plans for 10 years. He's just planning to die. So we need to tell him that, no, sir, you've done what you can. We need to start planning for our nation, for us and our children. And in this thing, you have no stake in this. Agree. You've done the best you can. Rest. And we have a conversation for 20 and 40 years. So not all these things, models you're seeing, they are just for the next day, for the next 2 years, and they are not sustainable. And that's why you see even non-technocrat military people coming up to celebrate birthdays when they know nothing about the economy. So what I'm saying, let the country agree. Let these revolutionary fathers of ours agree that they've had technical people, researchers are there. Let them enable them, empower them to do their technical work and advise them accordingly.
Yes.
They've done what they have to do for their generation. Now it is us to fight for our generation. Otherwise, what we are seeing is political sabotage, actually syndicating and sabotaging. For example, the president has put all these institutions like the IGG,
Yes.
even his monitoring project of the corrupt. But when these are operated by Ugandans, I'm looking for 2 million shillings. When because these are officers in the IGG's office, when they are hunting for a billionaire who has 10 billion,
Yes.
they are not going to look for this money to go in the consolidated fund. They are just going to play a deal between themselves and say, I've now noticed that you took the 10 billion. On the 10 billion shillings, how much are you giving me?
Yes.
So it is syndicating. Then the sabotage thing is, now first we saw the science teachers. When they got what they did, they were sabotaged now by the arts teachers. What the economy has failed to know is that majority of the teachers are in the private sector. What if they come out and they say they will not lecture or teach? So we are now, and the president is not solving the entire problem to say we now need a minimum wage. He's just saying, hey, whoever, and all of these ones negotiate at State House. It should not be. This man, to be sincere, he has not a long time to lead this country. It should be planners in the Ministry of Finance, not State House, planning for the next 20 years of Uganda. No, no. We should be realistic as Ugandans and know the age of these leaders and know that we should take back the power in our hands.
All right. So I want to ask, before we go, and this is my last question, what is the biggest hindrance to Uganda's economic prosperity? Where does it start from? You know, like how we have the fuel prices, a trickle-down effect, and it's now raising the cost of living in the country. So what is the biggest hindrance to our economic prosperity? Why are we not attaining middle income status?
Because to me, I would say it is now, we've taken it as a political tool. To say, now, like we are saying, realistically, the politicians want to attain it at any cost, and they will calculate their own political. Then World Bank comes up and says, no, these are the indicators we are using to calculate. And that's why I'm telling you the mismatch of the politics. He talked about administrative costs. Right now, maybe we would have got the middle income if we didn't have these high administrative costs. Let me tell you, like he talked about 500 MPs. Uganda needs about 100 decent MPs to make laws. Now, if you see the 400, the MPs, money they get, the 400 MPs, that money distributed to Uganda can make everyone rich, middle income maybe. But now, because the president and the government in place knows that they call it neo-patrimonialism, they want to sustain themselves in power. So they keep gerrymandering, dividing even this. A constituency which used to be one has now 3 districts. Gerrymandering. All those, we are not only calculating MPs, we are looking at the cows, we are looking at the different officers there who are not doing any work, because that work used to be, the work of one cow is being done by 10 cows. So all those things, if there was good planning and the administrative units were not manipulated, Ugandans would have reached the middle income cost. But right now, because of the selfishness of the political class, and I want to point it that it is the selfishness of the political class to keep themselves in power and not to even look at their grandchildren. I look at the children of Idi Amin, they are as broke as all of us, because 50 years after his rule, everything trickles. Right now, the grandchildren of President Museveni all cannot run away from Uganda. They will be in this country.
True.
So he has to open up his eyes. All these guys, when we talk, who come and pick us and take us to drones, have to know that their generation 20 years from now will be in Uganda. Even if they go as refugees, they will come back to Uganda. So let us not look at politics, but let us look at the economy of the nation.
All right, and what about you, Mr. Chiveru?
Sarah,
yes, please.
You will agree with me, Uganda has its Ministry of Finance. Uganda has, within the Ministry of Finance, we have departments. You know, they say MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. Within the Ministry of Finance, we have WUBOS, Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Its role is to collect data, do the research, do the surveys, bring the data for consumption by the planning section. And even the planning section, the planning agency authority, Uganda has National Planning Authority. When you look at the current National Development Plan, they call it NDP3. NDP3 is very beautiful when you look at it. It plans for development of agriculture, industrialization, employment for the youth, vocational skilling, investment in technology, etc. But the late Dr. I can call him Professor Kisamba Mugerwa, he mentioned and said, we have good plans, but they die in the implementation stage.
Why is that so?
They die in the implementation stage because of what he said. During implementation, they are politicized. Do you remember the case of Honorable Nabanja calling someone from Guru, a border guy, who was claiming to be a border guy, but who was found to be a relative of the town clerk within the district?
Yes.
You remember that case?
COVID-19.
COVID-19.
Yes.
Relief.
The 100,000.
So you find that the plan is good. In the middle of the implementation, it's jumbled. In the end, they show good results. They say, we have fully implemented. Why? There is a donor, there is European Union, there is World Bank who wants to see that Uganda is developing. So you find that the results are falsified. The reports are falsified. It takes you back to my paper that unrealistic government statistics hinder effective planning or effective development planning. That's where we are in Uganda. The plans are good, but the implementation is not good. And later on, the reports that come out show that there has been a change. Why? Because the donor, the funding agency, wants to see, this IMF wants to see that, how did you use our money? Is there any impact? Of course, they have to show positive impact.
Results,
Even when it is not there, it takes you back to the politicization of Uganda's economic development planning. So, they wake up one morning and say, every Ugandan earns this much when you don't earn it. Why? Because they want to impress the international agencies. But now, the international agencies, probably they also did their own research on the ground. And they said, no, the statistics you have
Are not
are
true.
falsified.
Yes.
Ours is here. Where did you get yours?
Yes.
I don't want to say it was cooked. But that could be the case.
What about the population in Uganda? Could that also be a factor to why we are not thriving? Because it is projected that the population will increase up to 48.96 million by the end of 2022. 41% of Ugandans live in poverty and only 8.3 million Ugandans are in the middle class. So what about our population growth rate? Is that also another factor?
Also with him that sometimes the statistics, he said, I need to read your book, the statistics are also manipulated. For example, the population.
Yes.
There is a time UNHCR did their own audit of the refugees in Uganda and they found they had been inflated by thousands. Do you get it? So,
yes.
Because these people, now like he talked about that they are like also beggars at the international level. They say Uganda has these refugees, give us money. In that, when they give them money even for refugees, they divert it to their political, like for example, UNHCR or the world body will give donation for refugees to work on the infrastructure and the roads. Remember, they want to have credit for those roads that they were done by this NRM government, I'll be frank. Now, when they are going to report, they reported to UNHCR that they have a number of refugees which they had doubled, yes. Artificial. So all these indicators show that what they are reporting, even the population of Uganda itself is doubtable, like he's saying in his statistics.
Yes.
It's doubtable.
Yeah, that's why you even see these things come out, even in the election, and say, no, in this area, there have never been this kind of people voting. So even everything you see in Uganda is, most of the things are being manipulated. And the people, the researchers, like for example, if I say, now, a decent person like me, I'm suffering. I think I'm not in the middle income. Now, how would you tell me? My 20 dependents, for them, they reached middle income. Yet, I told my credit officer in a certain bank, I said, you people, if for me I'm suffering the way I see, what of the whole people who are dependent on me? What of the average Ugandan? And which is the middle income? Who is in the middle income? Call these people you call MPs honorable. They are all living under. So what you are, to answer your question, all these statistics, and some of us are researchers, I'm a researcher also, know that many of the things are not realistic on the ground. Some of the data, actually, the data is being manipulated, skewed, like for someone's political favor. Just like, all the people who go in State House right now, don't tell the president what is on ground. They say what he wants to listen to. So if he wants to get the real data, let him get independent foreigners, no longer, not even Ugandans.
Yes.
Eh? And these World Bank people do their research, and it is more authentic and more realistic than the people who are doing research here. Because most of us are manipulated to favor, and you have to be paid. So sometimes you give research, even now academic research. I'm giving you an example. The highest institution of research right now is Makerere University. Look at the leadership of Makerere University, how it has been manipulated by politics. From vice chancellor to the governing board.
Yes.
All specific, like this Attorney General Chiriowa, who is known to be a strategic manipulator, was on its board. So even Makerere University, an institution which was independent, has been penetrated by politics. And they will give the data which the state wants to hear. So that's why I'm saying, let him not use any Ugandan. That's when he will know what is on ground. But you use Ugandans, we are all now trying to survive, and we'll give you what you want, and you'll give us what we want. Just for a survival of 1 year, which is not sustainable.
All right. So as we wind out this segment, please, your parting shots. I'll start with you, Mr. Kiberu.
Thank you, Sarah, majorly for hosting me or hosting us. I would like to send my message to government of Uganda, particularly the Parliamentary Committee on Planning, Development, and the like, to ensure that, one, they reduce taxes on essential commodities.
Yes.
And maybe look for other alternative taxes on commodities that are luxurious and which we call them articles of ostentation.
Yes. Which
we think that their consumers can continue consuming them even when the taxes are high or prices are high. They are addicted, and their price elasticity is always very small. They don't care about that. So let taxes be cut on essential commodities. Two, let the government reduce on administrative costs. Three, overall government expenditure should be reduced. I saw recently when the president ordered the prime minister to organize a function, a glorious function, to retire 34 army generals, I can call them generals or like, I don't know their ranks, but those 34, they will be retired with approximately 631 billion shillings. 34 people. And you cannot tell me that those people are bad off right now compared to ordinary Ugandans.
Yes.
So they will be retired using 631 plus billion shillings in a very magnificent function. So let the government cut such. Let the government continue fighting corruption. And most importantly, as I wind up, is to ensure that there is independent research that is undertaken to prevent unrealistic statistics that will make the president be ashamed even at an old age.
Yes. And
lastly, engage citizens in decision making. Let the government organize citizens forums at local government level, uninterrupted, without considering who supports government, who doesn't.
Yes.
So let the government consider that, and Uganda will be different.
All right. Thank you. And what about you, Dr. Rogers? Parting shots?
My parting shot is that, like, I won't depart from my colleague, that Uganda government should consider technocrats. For example, tell you, out of my 2 doctorates, I did 12 years of doctoral research on governance, politics, and the law. I've never, even what I've put on research books, sponsored even partly by other government like the South African government, has not been considered. Yet, this is my predictions and have started coming even true, many of them. But they fund, recently I saw an MP from I don't know where, struggling even to bring out the simplest kind of concept on the floor of parliament.
Yes.
And this is taken as an authority. Some of us who are authorities, but because you're liberal and you are never consulted or you are shut out, but we have the information. So what I'm showing you, that government, Ugandans have the resources. The economist here is here a resource with these statistics. But because of if you're liberal, or you will be shut out, and they only take in the sycophants who won't help them.
Yes.
When you are sick with cancer, you need a person who will diagnose and say your cancer is at level 4. Prepare whatever you have to do, whether they are to dig your grave or you are to get specialized medication.
Yes.
Uganda's cancer is like at level 4. They need people like us who say the truth. You don't need some witch doctor to tell you that. Now Uganda is using witch doctors who tell them, you know, if you do this, if you jump in the night, you jump naked in the night, you will survive. That's what President Museveni wants to tell him. First of all, he is old enough that he should be writing his will. People are telling him now, you are so young, you are a baby, you still have 20 years. Those are the people misleading him. He should have a conversation with some of us who are ready to tell him the truth and let him, even he still has time to prepare. But if he's being misled, he will have no time and Uganda will face the wrath of all this.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you for joining me right here on the Twitter Jabs to discuss the state of the economy. The conversation continues on our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also on YouTube. If you're just tuning in right now and you missed this interview, we'll be uploading it to our YouTube page. Please let me know what you think of the state of Uganda's economy. I was joined by Dr. Rogers Barigayomwe, I beg your pardon. Yeah, yes, right. Dr. Rogers Barigayomwe with me today. He's a friend to the show and he's always willing to come in and discuss a state of the nation issues. And also Mr. Jonah Kiberu, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, gentlemen. And that is all we had for you on the Twitter Jabs. But coming up is our views and we'll be discussing what it means to be classy. This is Sunrise at Sea. Don't blink.